Democratic Georgia gubernatorial candidate, who lost, by the way, last go-around, Stacey Abrams, she's become a millionaire. But how? She's never produced anything. Now, according to the state disclosures that she filed in March, Abrams, now running again for governor, her net worth is north of $3 million. Contrast that to before she ran for governor the first time and lost, with a $54,000 tax bill from the IRS, nearly $100,000 in student loans, and credit card debt, another $400,000 in liabilities. I mean, come on. For more on this, let's welcome in the writer for the Daily Caller, Kay Smythe. Kay, you wrote a piece on this. You sent it to me, and I couldn't believe my ears. Is that why she's running again, just to get rich?
Yes, absolutely. This is part of what I like to call the political celebrity, Carl. These are not people who are actually viable political candidates. These are not people who will do anything when they get into power. They're running because, well, you know, admittedly, she did get that one walk-on role on Star Trek. But other than that, Stacey Abrams is not going to be famous for anything other than politics. So this is how she's making her money now. Yeah, it is.
This is the problem now. It's become like a pop culture thing. So for more reaction on this, I want to bring in the rest of our panel. National Affairs reporter for the National Review and Newsmax contributor John Fund, former campaign aide Rick Gates, and my co-host Allison Maloney on this one. So, Rick, I want to get your take on this. Run for office, totally in debt, don't really have we'll say a career ahead of you, or at least appears by her tax bills and her other liabilities that she has. She wasn't paying totally up to date, $80,000 in credit card debt. You run for governor, you lose, and all of a sudden you're playing, as Kay just said, president of the world in Star Trek, and you're making $3 million. Sounds pretty good to me, huh?
Yeah, Carl, this is not uncommon at all. In fact, you look at across the board, whether it's you're running for governor, Congress, Senate, they all cash in. I mean, the average amount that a U.S. senator makes after retiring from the Senate is about $35 million. That is a bad message to send to people that actually want to genuinely do work for the United States government, for people in America, to actually help them. It completely taints people when they get to Washington, and it all becomes about power and money. And Stacey Abrams is a great example of this. And unfortunately, a lot of people suspect that she wouldn't run because she was making so much money and that she wouldn't want to give that up. So she is now, jumped back in the arena because she believes that bolstering her image, being, the chance of being governor, will actually increase her the amount of money she makes down the road.
The wrong reason to run for office.
John, I want to get your reaction, because if you can't manage your own money, right, you've got a lot of debt, how can you balance the budget and keep your state on track?
The biggest change in Washington and in politics in general that I have seen over the last 25 years is the rise of the professional grifter. And this infects both parties.
100%.
I can give you lots of Republican examples. And what Stacey Abrams is doing is what I call the Black Lives Matter shuffle. A whole bunch of money entered into her organizations, and you can't really tell where it went. Black Lives Matter has become a real estate company. I mean, all of the founders are buying properties in white neighborhoods and seeing the appreciation. By the way, the best line on Stacey Abrams came yesterday from Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, who said, look, we've got to stop Stacey Abrams from becoming governor of Georgia. If she wins, I'll have Castro to the south of me, Abrams to the north of me. I'll be surrounded by communists.
That is so true. Oh, man. So, all right, Kay, but on this real quick, before I get to Gretchen Whitmer, which is insane to me, when we have these people, John's very, very right, both sides have it. How do you stop it?
I think what we need is just some major reform in this country. And I think we really need to shift the social narrative away from creating icons out of our politicians. Politicians are really supposed to work for the people of America, but right now all they're doing is working for themselves. They're working for these massive corporations. Stacey Abrams made $700,000 from, I think it was a 3-year contract. I mean, that just shouldn't be legal. Like, these people are put into positions where they're supposed to help the country, and all they're doing is helping themselves. I think we need a sort of grassroots, which is a term I actually really don't like, but I think we really do need this sort of grassroots approach to changing the social narrative of how we respect and treat our politicians. If they're going out and making these huge sums of money, they shouldn't be allowed to be our politicians.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. We need that full separation.
Comes to the voters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our bad.
We agree, Kay. All right, Rick, I want to pivot to the kidnapping case involving Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. This is where two men, they've been acquitted of all charges. Rick, how much of a symbolic defeat is this for the government?
Oh, it's massive, and I think it's a great, example of, when the government didn't have a very strong case to go with in the first place, when there were obviously claims of entrapment by, FBI officials. I think this is, justice served. Unfortunately, it's a diminution of justice too, because these two men sat in prison for 18 months before they were acquitted. They were never allowed bail, which is, I just think, a tragedy of justice. And then there are two others. You guys probably saw this morning that the judge declared a mistrial for two of the other defendants. So all around, this is just a bad case for the government, and I hope people dig into it because there's a lot of misjustice in this entire case.
Yeah, but John, as we were just saying, the jury couldn't find these two people. Two people pled guilty to lesser charges, but I wonder if that's going to be re-adjudicated now that they couldn't do. They found the bulk of the people involved in this case were actually FBI people. The person who was the driver was the FBI guy. The person who had the explosives was the FBI guy. These guys, basically what I'm hearing, John, and correct me if I'm wrong, they were kind of like, hey, yeah, I don't like Gretchen Whitmer. They said a couple bad things, like off the cuff. I'm not endorsing any of it, however, but they said some mean posts on Facebook how they'd love to take her out or something like that. Still not okay, but I mean, this kind of stuff, John, did they go too far?
It's been about 10 years since we learned how the federal government railroaded Senator Ted Stevens into a conviction, which he ultimately, I think, was exonerated for. There were promises that federal prosecutors would be reined in. Can you remember the last time a federal prosecutor was disciplined for anything? I think that at best, this is manifest incompetence on the part of the federal prosecutors. At worst, it's a form of entrapment. I think we have to have a complete relook at the informant program. The informant program is designed to actually uncover real crimes, not create new crimes.
Right.
If science fiction novels talk about you convict people for pre-crimes, what they're thinking, that's what we're heading to in this country if we don't have changes.
The movie The Minority Report?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel that way. I feel that way.
Sometimes I do feel like we're in a movie with some of this stuff happening. I do want to quickly pivot to the midterm elections because a lot of people are saying, Kay, that we're going to see a red wave. But on the flip side, so much can happen right within that time. What do you think Republicans need to do to make sure that they do take back the seats and that they let the American public know what they're going to do?
Great question. So I think when the lead up to the midterms, the big thing that we actually need to be focusing on is the integrity of every election. We saw in 2020 some pretty suspect behavior going on. And I think that in the lead up to the midterms, we need to be extra conscious of the fact that it should be one vote per person. I don't think that immigrants should be given the right to vote. And I say that as an immigrant. I think that instead of even focusing on policy as the overarching kind of concept here, because I think the Republicans are actually doing really well. I'm out here in real America, down in North Carolina, and people just don't want the Democrats anymore. I think that the Democrats have done a really good job of kind of annexing themselves, as we just talked about with Stacey Abrams. I mean, that leaches into the rest of the country and into the rest of our sort of like macro social consciousness. So I actually think we need to be focusing on the integrity. And I think we need to be making sure that there aren't any suspect behavior, shall we say.
Rick, on that, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Republicans have been able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory before. And we have, right now, the Democratic Party is largely pushing for, dudes to compete against girls, like in NCAA swimming. They're big on this push thing against Florida, where they literally want the over-sexualization of our kids. And the polls are all against them. The polls against them on COVID, they're still touting random, stupid stuff. But at the end of the day, do the Democrats have time to take the next couple months, turn their message around, and somehow make Republicans out to be the bad guy again?
Look, they could possibly mitigate some of the potential losses if they were to pivot immediately to, removing these kind of ideas of wokeness that you're seeing, particularly in education. Wisconsin local elections this past week in the school boards was a great example. Republicans swept 2/3 of those seats in Wisconsin, a swing state.
Right.
That doesn't bode well for Democrats at all. But they're going to have to do a massive shift of policy paradigm, Carl, and they don't have the time or the strategy for it at this stage. And Biden had a chance at the State of the Union, didn't do it. You're going to continue to see Republicans hammering away on the record of the Democrats, of the Biden administration, of the progressives, and that is going to continue to push Republicans and even moderate, Democrats to vote the Republican wave.
Yeah, it's crisis after crisis for them. All right, thank you so much, John, Rick, and Kay. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.